Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our weekend weather update and the forecast for the middle of November. And this was recorded on Friday, November the 11th. This weekend, we've got a tropical or subtropical northerly wind coming into the upper North Island. It's been blustery, but it is going to move out to the east, but behind it, a bit of instability due to this low pressure zone and that warmth, so we could be seeing a few afternoon downpours and thunderstorms. Certainly has been windy in northern New Zealand. Auckland itself, the city sheltered to some degree by the Coromandel Ranges, but as the winds actually ease back today, they'll swing further around to the north, so you still might get some odd windy periods of weather, but for the most part, hopefully the worst of that windy weather is now starting to ease, and it goes all the way down to about Cook Strait. Even got that nor'easter coming in to Christchurch. On the other side, you've had northerly winds blowing around as well in the eastern side, and over here in Western Australia, you've got a southerly coming through. You've also got a southerly sneaking in here around Adelaide and Melbourne. Let's have a look at the rainfall for New Zealand. The bulk of that rain in the north sliding eastwards now, so Bay of Plenty and East Cape areas, still potentially around East Cape in that blue, getting up to 90 to 100 millimetres, and this is just over the next 24 hours. So certainly anywhere from Bay of Plenty to East Cape, that's the area with the heaviest rain concern over the next 24 hours or so. And the further south you go, the drier it gets. The lower half of the South Island, entirely dry. Let's have a look at the weekend. So here is Saturday. All that wind and rain, this is it here, between the North Island and the Chatham Islands, basically. So the high pressure zone out to the east is the reason why it's warm, but it's also the reason why it's holding it all up and making it windier. But most of that windy weather moves away, and so on Saturday, nor'westers are coming in, and see the blue around the North and the South Island. That's the risk of thunderstorms, which I'll show you in a second. In Australia, you've got northerly winds returning around Adelaide with the next low pressure zone. So here are the thunderstorm risks for Saturday afternoon. Now you can get these maps at weatherwatch.co.nz and on our app. The colours at the bottom just focus on the risk. Don't have to get too lost in the numbers. So all you're really looking for are the areas in that moderate to high risk, which you can see are around a big chunk of the North Island, mostly around the mountains and ranges, so that's where they're more likely to form. And the further west you are or the further north you are, it looks as though the risks are a bit lower. So any thunderstorms that form will probably slide eastwards as we go through Saturday, and this is from lunchtime to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Here's Sunday. You've still got those afternoon risks for downpours, but probably not seeing quite as much in the way of the risk of thunder. So still got downpour risks, but not as many thunderstorms. High pressure out here in the Tasman, and that low pressure zone, that's the next one that's moving into Victoria and Tasmania, and to some degree New South Wales as well, with a bit more wet weather. So next week, that system turns into a storm and it tracks away from Tasmania. There's certainly a cold front tracking through there, and behind it gets colder, especially by Monday evening, as that southerly portion here comes back through. So a windy day with gale force conditions for you and blustery conditions from Tasmania to Victoria to South Australia. Over in New Zealand though, pretty calm, not a lot of wind at all. Still seeing a couple of afternoon downpours bubbling up in the upper South Island and the central North Island. Hopefully not too many problems from that, but if you live anywhere near them, always be aware for the chance of an isolated thunderstorm. Now as we move through to Tuesday next week, again, seeing those afternoon downpours appearing. Not a lot of low pressure on the map at the moment in the New Zealand zone. We've got this low to the north, still no tropical cyclones or anything up in the tropics, and the stormy system from Australia starts to pull away, but you can see that colder airflow now, that blue line going right up into New South Wales. So you're certainly going to feel the temperature drop in Adelaide, Melbourne and Hobart, especially considering some of you were around 30 degrees in the last day or so. So a big change coming. And in the middle of next week, it is still with you. Temperatures in New South Wales dropping overnight. New Zealand still warm and settled with afternoon downpours just appearing here and there. Otherwise, a mostly dry week coming up. And our final map here for Thursday shows New Zealand's weather just starting to change again. So all that stuff that was in Australia moves towards New Zealand, loses a lot of its oomph. So you end up with rain on the west coast and a bit of a westerly change. But it's not going to be anything significant. And in Australia, that southeastern corner, once again, settling back down again with high pressure. So very typical spring weather pattern. It's chopping and changing. One day we've got high pressure, the next day low pressure. But New Zealand, to be honest, has got a fairly quiet week coming up, just with those afternoon downpour risks, and Australia, all the attention really mostly in that southeastern corner once again. Have a great weekend. Just a programming note, I'm travelling Monday, so we can't record, but we'll be back again on Tuesday with our next update. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend.